There we go. Da, 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 da. All right. We're digging into some CBCs. If not, the wonderful CBCs, right? To start off with, I will mention that CBCs are or is something that I'm utilizing all the time, and I'm sure who's using CBCs in here. I want to see. Some people might be using it. Some people might not be. Yeah. So people are using it, right? It's I would say it's a very clean way to get into price, right? As you may know price when it comes to breathing rooms, when it comes to utilizing sequences, you understand to this point, the breathing rooms. You understand the numbers characteristics, what they're looking to do. You understand starting to get the story of things. But what you also need to know is how we utilize the multi-time frame sequence within the sequence within the sequence within the sequence, right? And that's where CBC comes into play. CBCs are a very efficient way to get into price through a CBC. What is going to happen after this lecture is that you guys are going to realize that every single area in price has a breathing room to it. Every single point, there's a reason to be part of a move, which means that you no longer have 330 really good looking setups. You now rather have 3,000 of them because every turning point in every CBC is essentially just a sequence, right? Let me explain why, right? I'm in a I don't know why, but I'm in a mood of messing around today, which is pretty strange for being me. This never ending. Oh yeah, we're gonna do a little quiz to it all afterwards. So just to make sure you guys understand it. And a lot of people, this is a lot of people's favorite time to start guessing. I mean, and now we can also see who's gotten better on this stuff as well, right? I'm looking at don't feel pressure or do, right? Some people that messed up last time, you might be getting it now. Yeah, let's do that. Down, 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 down. All right, now I have to do this. Copy paste, bang. All right. Well, that was my friends. What you have in front of you is CBCs. CBCs are represented in terms of candles. You should only count to three, and no more than three, no less than three. There needs to be at least tr- three single candles to create a potential two setup from a sequence. All right, so what you're looking at right here is the three and the three only scenarios that could essentially play out. It could look a bit different, absolutely, but these are the three scenarios that could definitely play out in the market. You don't have any other options. All right. These are the ones that could do. This one could probably go like this as well, but it's still going up. You get my point? Yeah, you got it. Um, what you're seeing right here is the move up. The next candle opens until we run down here to create that P2, right? That P2 is created to run high to create the 3. That's a 3, that's a 1. Right? So in here you have a 1, 2, 3. In this case, you're running 2 lows, which means, and everybody say it loudly in the chat, what does that mean when we run 2 breathing room lows? A failed 2. Great. Wonderful. So price runs both of these lows, bang, right? Smacks them. That means that the next sequence that we're going to look at in terms of CBC is a candle up, candle down, run candle, sweep it, run lower, right? Just look to run one candle, essentially. This candle goes up, and the next candle should go down. And now you have that too, right? In this case, up, breathing room, up, sweeps it, goes up, runs itself. What is that called? And everybody say it in the chat, loud and clear. It's called an F2. Wow. The reason why it's called an F2 is because it runs itself, right? It tried to go up, it couldn't. This time it just gave in, right? All right, so what you have right here, you've got something in common right here. And something interesting taking place, right? What you have right here is this one succeeded, this one failed, and this one failed. Now, I'm asking you this. Could this succeed in any other way? No. This is the only way a CBC could succeed to do it. But what you will find interesting, there are more ways to fail than succeed. You see that? This one failed, and this one failed. And this one succeeded to go higher. What does that imply? Well, just using CBCs by themselves means that you are a complete dumbass and you don't understand probabilities. Because what you have right here is a 33% hit rate. CBCs by themselves, they are not to be ever used by themselves. Because of this reason that you have right in front of you right now. There are more ways to fail through a CBC than to succeed, right? So if this is a 33% win rate, and this is a 33, and this is a 33, why would we ever use it? Well, if you add these 33% to a specific area in which price is looking to do something specific, then suddenly you have a situation where you have a very high likelihood of something happening over the other, right? So, for example, in this case, price runs up, sweeps the breathing room, creates that 2, and looking to run that low, right? So we have a P2 and a P1 down here because of it. So this area is looking to run down here. To confirm that, we're looking for the CBC2. Because our stop now immediately after doing that goes from this entry to this entry. It's a pretty big difference, right? We go from that area with a 5R instead of having a 1R. Pretty powerful stuff. The CBCs are to be utilized through the same old 50% that I've drawn before. I'll go into that in a sec. But the 50% can be utilized on these as well. Everybody understands that this looks like a sequence that you've been doing all this time, right? Everybody understands that this right here is just the one thing you've been doing all this time, but through a different lens, right? You guys following? Good. Yep, awesome. Because at the end of the day, it's just going up, creates a breathing room, runs higher, runs that low, runs higher. I can take whatever spot you want in price and tell you that, for example, what just happened here. Pretty bad example. But that's the 50 tap 2 on a CBC into 3 to run lower. You have it right here. Price runs down, runs up, runs down, sweeps it with just a tick. That's a 2 into a 3. That's the reason why it's running up, back down in here now. I can take whatever area of price you want and explain it through that, right? Runs two highs. It's not looking to go lower. It runs higher, right? Runs too low, so looking to go lower. So as you can see, if you're just using it by itself as well, you're going to be shredded to pieces. But if you start to add it in the bigger context of things, right? That's when it starts to make more and more sense. So that's when you can start to essentially start to utilize it. So for example, sweeping a breathing room, right? When we sweep it, I'm not saying this is the best example. I don't know what happened on that candle. Price runs higher, runs into that low, creates a 2. Look at that 50 tap. But it didn't tap it. Shit. Well, it came back down there later. So we have that 2 in here to run into that 3. That was a successful CBC 2 to the upside. Price runs back down, sweeps that 2. We understand from multi-timeframe sequence that if that's the 4 or 5 on the CBC, it might mean that that's a 2 on the ISS, right? Because we're moving up a time frame when we sweep that 2. Sweep that 2 that is sitting right here, create a new 2, a bigger 2 to run higher. You can utilize the tick charts in here to take advantage of that. CBC, right? CBC stands for candle by candle, by the way. You're reading it candle by candle. So your eyes, when you are looking for a CBC, should be drawn to this very thing right here. We move below it. Bang. As soon as we move below it, start to look at the CBCs. Start to look what is happening. What is playing out? When is it telling me to get in? And then suddenly, out of nowhere, you have a CBC 2 into CBC 3. And then you can utilize this move from here, that this is the point where you're actually going to turn around. And now your stop is going to be very much smaller. That's the CBC. We'll come back to do specific, could you say workout? Mental workout, I guess, to utilize those things. But first, I want to run through this stuff right here. CBC is utilized through the shit show sequences. What do I mean by that? 8 to 15 candles, right? This sort of guideline to give you an idea of what a shit show level looks like, shit show sequence looks like. And this is all on the 1 minute chart. But on the ISS chart, which means about 4 to 7 or 8, something like that, candles. What you're going to be utilizing is instead the wonderful tick charts in the same manner. I'm going to run you through the tick charts here just now. When you're utilizing tick charts, because you see me do that sometimes, my entries are very tight. For example, I had an entry today where I entered through the tick charts. As a matter of fact, 2 times. As a matter of fact, 3 times today. It was through this level right here. See how price is moving down, up, down, up. What I'm looking at right here is price doing this. This is where my entry goes. Sometimes I'll wait for that to happen. And you've seen that in some lives. You've seen that in some, well, specifically lives. When I'm saying it's going to go to this level, it goes right to it, to the tick, and then shoots away from it. That's the tick charts. Because what I'm doing through the tick chart is reading every single move on the 1 minute candle in my mind, drawing it again and again. On the 1 minute candle, even though you see just one candle going up, there's a lot of things taking place like that inside of it. So you're moving up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, right? This is reading the tick charts for me, reading the 1 minute candles. I just want to make sure you guys understand that I actually do this. Can some of the high tier and other members confirm that this is what I do for the members 3? It just makes it easier for them to accept the fact that this is how I read it, because I'm sure there's going to be questions on it. Thank you, Ash, for confirming it. Thank you, guys. Thank you for backing me up. I tend to read it through the very own 1 minute candles, right? Because that's easier for me. Convinced. Yeah. But so this is how when I'm reading the tick chart on the 1 minute chart, I'm reading every move on the 1 minute chart, right? So when we're watching this, for example, I'll be drawing this, what this candle is doing in my mind until they say, if we run that high, for example, we're going to have a reaction away from it. And then price is going to tap into it like that. And then it could move lower, right? So this is specifically what can take place. This is how we can utilize these things, right? So I tend to look at basically the failed twos when I'm reading through price, right? So because it's so fast moving, fast paced, that if I were to take a long, I would just take it as soon as it failed to do its job to go down here, because it tells me the idea of us going higher. What makes you decide which one you take of the two? It depends completely on the current situation, on my confidence level. If I'm less confident, I might wait for a successful 2 instead. That might mean that I also miss the move, though. But it's if I want to have an even tighter stop loss, for example. If my stop looks like that, for example, to take a trade, but I could minimize it by doing that. See the difference? I just doubled my trade by just waiting a bit longer. So, but many times the stop is so tight already that I don't have to do that. It's okay for me, right? To give it some space, essentially. So that's the take charts. That's how I read through it. That's how I utilize it through my trading. And so now we have to understand that you're going to be looking at CBCs on the SS level, right? The SS sequence part. The tick charts on the ISS. And then what you could do for the more advanced people to convince yourself inside a CBC, you could utilize the tick charts if you're very aggressive sometimes. This is sort of my aggressive idea, but still confirming it. This is essentially the CBC part. Everybody understands this right here? Everybody following with this stuff before I get into the next segment? I feel like I'm rushing it, but it's not because I'm in a hurry. It's really not. It's because I get too excited. So please tell me if I speak too fast or something. All right? And ask me questions if you have. You're way efficient now. Yeah. I'm just becoming more and more of an efficient sequence, right? Over and over again, right? Keep seeing it. It's almost like I've done this before, man. uh yeah, I've got electricity this time. Like yesterday in comparison. Right? How many ticks do you use? Depending on the situation, I don't watch the tick charts personally. I literally don't because I find it easier. I've learned to use just reading the 1 minute chart that keeps me in contact with price when I'm reading through the 1 minute chart. I've seen some people use the 20s, some people use the 50s. I don't know if some of you guys use the hundreds. Huck, do you use the hundreds sometimes? I'm pretty sure Int utilizes. In New York, yeah, more explosive moves and stuff. So, but I tend to stick to about 50 if I were to watch the tick charts like in a chart. But I don't need that because I'm reading that through the 1 minute chart. It's just way easier for me. I want to have everything stick to one chart and one chart only, right? That's what I like to do. I'm able to see everything that way. So that's the CBC part. I will now show you the 50 taps. Something that is very profound in my trading style as well is utilizing important areas in which, all right, where could we potentially bounce away from, right? So for example, this is a decent example right here. Now, if you view this as a breathing room, I don't know if you do or not, but let's call it a breathing room for now. You're going to take your 50% level from that low and drag it to the highest point low, which is here. This is the highest point low in price. Why is it called highest point low? Because the other lows that are close to it is here, here, there, right? This is the highest point where price moved lower. Don't ask me why this is the way. I was just sitting watching price and suddenly it worked very well, and that's why I just utilize it. So many times what you will see within my trading style is you will see me drag these fibs out to understand where price could potentially turn around away from, just as an extra confirmation. So these 50 taps are important to me because I understand that if price starts to reject heavily from here or start creating sequences to turn around or whatever it might be, I understand why that is happening. And it gives me this more confidence boost in taking a long setup, for example, from here. And in this case, I would most likely 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-ish candles here. I would most likely utilize the tick charts within here, and that would be this entry right here, and I would probably enter around here if I were to use the tick charts. Now, not the best R trade, so because many times I want to see a 50 tap and then a confirm after that. If you were to use CBCs in this instance, which also makes sense, if you're seeing this area as a shit show sequence, calling that the SS level 2, right? What you could also be doing is put your limit order at that low with your stop right here, because it ran this high and that high as well, and it bounced on the 50 and you're confident we're moving higher. So this is now your CBC entry because it's an equal with that low, which means it's a CBC2 inside the 2. There is a reason also why some people tend to see CBC 2s and 3s at the 2s. Some of you guys have recognized that. Some of you guys have been talking about that. Some people utilize that very often. I'm pretty sure Brendan loves to utilize the 3s inside the 2s, for example. What we mean by that is this. Imagine this is a CBC2, and we're now sitting at a 2 here. That 2 created a CBC3, and now you can utilize the move in here to take us to the downside with a very, very tight stop, utilizing the tick charts on that. So you can use the tick charts inside that 3. So then you have a 2. Inside that 2, you have a 3. And inside that 3 on the tick chart, that's a CBC3. Again. Oh, it's not here anymore. To confirm the CBC, in this case CBC3, confirm it with the tick charts. That's happening right here. That's a tick chart entry. That's a failed 2 on the tick charts. So now it went from being a huge stop to this very move right here. And you can move down here, but your initial target is down here. Now that trade turned to be a what? A 1-hour trade all the way down into being a 15-hour trade right there. Just by utilizing multi-timeframe sequences, the tick charts, CBCs, CBC3s inside the 2s, and inside that 3 there's a tick chart 2, or a tick chart failed 2 even, to take that to the downside. Whoops. And that is all happening while we're sitting at the CBC, the 50 tap. So we tap that 50 and then head back lower. You guys with me? You guys following? I'm trying to push as much information about my entries as possible. Between 1320 and 1332, which low would you anchor? Today's price action, let me check it. 1320. Which low would you anchor? I wouldn't anchor anything here because I don't see breathing rooms in here. There is literally no breathing room. So this is the breathing room, which means that the 50 doesn't really matter, because if we run that low, that's where we're looking for low. Right? So the 50 taps. Oh yeah, this is a big important rule to the 50 taps. The 50 taps, it's not about, all right, so we can just draw it wherever and it's going to bounce on it. No, it's not that. It's not that. So you have to understand that these breathing rooms are just, or these 50 taps are just giving you the outline of where the bounce could potentially take place. All right? It's not a set in stone thing, because sometimes when you draw the 50 taps, let me see if I can find an example. Yeah, perfect example right here. When I will draw the 50 taps, if I draw it, see that's a breathing room, that's a breathing room, right? If I draw it like this, see how it's overlapping with this breathing room? It doesn't mean you're going to look for a long from here, because you still have to see that breathing room being swept. But what you can do instead here is minimize that 50 entry tap. And now you have that. What did I just do? What I just did was I drew it from this low to that high, or this highest point low, so that I can essentially minimize the specific area in which I want to see being swept. Tap that 50 within that area of it being swept, and then take it higher. It doesn't always have to tap this this minimized area, but sometimes it will, right? It's more of a specific area, as you can see, right? So that's how you essentially utilize it. You still have to see the breathing rooms. You cannot just draw the 50 and just gonna move there and you're gonna say, oh, great reaction, I'm wanting to see a reaction. But what you're looking for is the 50 in combined together with understanding the sweep of a breathing room, right? The sequence still holds intact. The 50 is just to give you that sort of idea, right? Give you the idea of where it can potentially start to bounce away from to make sense in your mind, right? When it comes to CBCs, then, we can do the same thing with a 50 tap. So when you're looking for a long, right? This is the CBC long. Sweep that low. You're looking for a sweep of the of the CBC, right? Which is down here, even though the 50 is here, yes. But you still have to see it being swept. So your stop still goes down here. And now this is a valid trade setup right here. A sequence to do what? To turn around. A CBC to turn around. That's coming to be a 2 into a 3 to then head back down lower. And of course, in here, low, high, low, high. Sweep that. This should hold intact right here, which means that you can minimize your 50 drawn fib as well. 50% drawn to here. So it's from that low to that low. Sweep that breathing room. Do not sweep that breathing room, right? Let's run back to over here. Sweep that breathing room. Do not sweep this breathing room, meaning this should hold intact. This should be swept. Draw the 50 from here to here. Highest point low. That's where that 50 is drawn. In the same manner that we just did over here. So now your entry can even be this. Now you have a 9R trade. Randomly, right? And you can definitely minimize this more as well, because this is most likely a 2 on the tick chart into a 3 on the tick chart inside the 2 on the CBC to take it to the upside with this. Right? And now you have a 16R trading 2 candles, 2 or 3 candles. You guys following? I know I'm talking a whole lot, but I also want you guys to be able to have to do something with the lecture and run through the recording for later, right? All right. But the major part here is we understand I want to see a 50 tap, CBC directional change in one way or another. That's for the shit show sequence. ISS, 50 tap. Utilize the tick charts to be part of the move. Right? Different time frames, different sequences, right? So I'm pretty sure you guys understood the concept of CBCs, right? This stuff right here you understood. I hopefully explained that very well. So what we're going to do now is separate just practice. All right? Oh, by the way, I forgot to ask, was it a good day trading for you guys today? Or was it a terrible one? Forgot to ask. Good one. Hey, there you go. I know some people are probably sitting and trading while I'm speaking. Good. Yeah, good stuff. Good. All right. I love it. All right. So what we're gonna do here? I used to find an idea on the 1 minute and try to go to lower time to get better entry. CBC is a similar idea, but allows you to stay on the same time frame. Absolutely, you're 100% correct. CBCs are based out of the 1 minute chart, and a CBC essentially, if you go down the time frame, is gonna be a smaller time frame sequence, most likely like the 1 second or 5 second chart. So you're following, absolutely. Man, sometimes Amanda just shows up and got some great questions. There's not always questions from Mando, but when they arise, some good questions. Straightforward. I love it, man. Um. All right, so let's do the favorite practice, right? Let's jump into it. I'm going to draw out candles. You guys say based on CBC what is going to happen next. Just complete technical basis. Only technicals. All right? So I want you to be active in the chat. That's what I want you guys to do. We start easy and it gets harder and harder. And we're going to incorporate a couple of things for later as well. Is the next candle going to be green or red? man, the high tier and members 1 and 2, they're like, yeah, finally I'm able to shine. I'm able to shine this time. That's correct. This can is gonna be green. What is the next candle gonna be? Red or green? Just technical. Red. We're only talking sufficient sequences, right? So don't mind inefficient sequences. Great stuff. Now we're gonna add this. You are going to say green candle, red candle, meaning green, red, or you're going to say wait. Now it's up to you to decide what you want to do. All right? So in this case, would you wait, red, or green? We're getting to the more. I see some people starting to think in advanced terms. But let's take one step at a time. I'm gonna make sure that it becomes more crazy over time, right? So we're saying wait here, for example. What would you do here? Wait, green or red? Well, one step at a time, Haka. Go easy. God dang it, man. Haka be seeing too much on the take charts, man. All right. Red or green? Next candle. There we go. Everybody understands that that's going to be a red one. All right, let me mess with your minds. It should be red to the downside here. I'm going to add this just to confuse so I understand that you all got it right. Let me do this. What should the next candle be? Now we're going to see some mixed answers. Ooh. Yeah. All right. Look at that. Oh, Renaissance red. Let me just correct some things here. Why would you say red? All right. Yeah, but in this case, I would say most likely green here. The reason being, Rena, is I see your point, but this area right here, I see it as a breathing room. And I'm not trying to set anybody up. Don't like the game. Get your point, though. All right. What should the next candle be? It's a harder one. This should mess with some people's minds now. All right, some mixed answers. Some people are afraid to answer as well. I think I scared Rena off. The next candle here should be green. I'll tell you in a sec why. Next candle should be what? Oh, interesting. Oh, you're saying green. If you're saying green, you're looking for the next candle to be green. Now what? Now you're sitting in drawdown. Makes more sense now, doesn't it? Hey, Spirit, tell him to join the shit show. But you see, it makes sense now, doesn't it? Right? Yes, you might be expecting a green candle to sweep this high to create that 2 to run lower. That would be correct answer. But in this case, we are waiting for something because we don't know. We are waiting for that move to happen into that. Some of you guys might be seeing this area as a turning point, but then you would need to watch the ISS level or some confirmation, which means that if you were looking for a long, then it would have already happened, right? So now what? Next candle, green or red? Okay, interesting. Boom, boom, boom. This is fascinating. A bit of mixed answers here, right? Again, if we look at, we talked about CBCs, right? We were running higher, running lower, running higher. This is almost like a breathing room, right? We run that breathing room. It runs itself. Wouldn't that be an F2? If that's an F2, especially if the next candle also runs lower, wouldn't that tell us that we're looking for the next sequence to the downside? So right here, it already told us that it's going to fail down to this level. I'm gonna start to do this as well. This is 100% what makes you brain dead. Imagine this is what I'll be thinking when I'm getting old. About candles. Let me actually do this instead. Change it up a bit. All right. We all pretty much know that the next candle should be what color? Green. Perfect. Great. Everybody got it. Yay. All right. Now the question is, where is price running to with the next green candle? To the number 1 high, number 2 high, or number 3 high? Just based out of technicals. Only technicals. All right. Safe answer. All right. Cool. Majority are saying 1 and 3. Some people say 2. All right. Are you guys locked in? What? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And talk to you in a bit. No, 3 now. All right, are you guys ready? Stop goes to break even, doesn't it? Right here. But this is where it goes. Just kidding. It moves up here. News candle. No, it's just when you take a trade, Uncle. This is what it looks like. The market loves you, man. For me, it's like pissing in the wind, man. That's what it is. I'm pissing. I'm pissing against the wind, man. Huck could just be lucky when it comes to take chart entries. All right. So the reason why this is happening, this is the SS2 into CBC2. Remember we talked about that before, right? When we're running a big 2 and then we confirm it with a CBC in here to take a long on that sucker to the upside. Now you can go break even here, which a lot of thinking, a lot of people thought to 1, which is absolutely the 100% correct way to think, because this is where price can start to move against you. But prior to that, it shouldn't move against you in this case, right? We're coming from that big 2. We're sweeping that high, that CBC2. This is also considered to be a breathing room, right, to create a new 2 to run us lower. Definitely. So you should definitely be sitting at break even when we run into 1. But the idea and the technicality of things is coming from that 2 to run into this 1 that creates that 3. See what I mean? It's amazing since June. It's amazing to see how much progress I've made since June. Did not see this at all for the first 2 months or so. Yeah, I remember that stuff. You had a real hard time with CBCs, man. Look at you now, man. Putting in the work and you're seeing it. It's crazy, right? Looking back on your past performance as well. Good stuff. Why did my name just disappear from the chart? All right. I tend to do this a lot. By the way, look what you just read in price. I love to do that at the end of running through this very sort of walkthrough. Look what you just did here. Doesn't it look crazy that when we just read this stuff, you were able to say what the next candle was going to be like? Do you guys realize what you just did? You're just seeing green, red, 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 failing. See what I mean? Isn't this some crazy stuff to you guys? This is the so-called seek and destroy conditions. This right here. You're able to walk through it. Are people stunned now or what? What just happened? I'm assuming yes. Digesting. 15 people just got completely mind blown. I thought my internet connection or my electricity went out or something. I thought, what the shit is going on, man? This is what you guys are able to read. It makes sense. But as soon as the numbers goes away, it's just seek and destroy conditions, right? I'm doing it backwards now, but it's amazing. The tight range reading every candle. Yeah. And look at this, guys. What you have inside of this oh my bad. Inside of this very big thing right here. Look at what you will be amazed about. It's just an ever expanding triangle without you guys even necessarily realizing it. This is it right here. You were just able to speak through this stuff right here. Oh, this makes sense. Oh, this makes sense. You can do the same in the charts. This is CBC. This is candle by candle. Reading it the same way. Candle by candle, candle by candle, candle by candle. This stuff. People would say, no, stay out. It's just craziness over here. You can't read it. Of course you can read it. Of course you can. Every tick has a reason to it. It's just that people are degenerates that don't want to learn why it's moving. What is the reason behind it? And we were able to speak through it just now. And look at this. When I start to do this stuff, all right, how far back do I have to go? Oh shit. Well, you can go through the recording after this. But this stuff right here, right? When we have a 2, that's a 3, that's the 4, right? But then it fails. So that's a 2, 3, 4, 5, which is also 2 on the higher time frame. To run higher. 3 fails. 2 fails. 2, 3. Price runs lower anyways. Runs up, runs down, runs higher. You can probably take a long from here. And that's when the CBC also arrives right here, right after. To go higher. As soon as I start to add the numbers, it makes sense. Doesn't it? Or is it just me that feels like it makes sense because I've been going over this for so long? Huckle goes, yes. This is some very, very, very powerful stuff. And I'm pretty sure you guys are starting to realize it, especially you guys in members 3. You can literally read every turning point of every candle. Every turning point has a reason to turn around. It's through CBCs. Oh, yeah. So I've got, for now, I've got a little homework for y'all. It's Rena's favorite homework. Rena, do you want to mention what the homework is? If you're here listening in. He goes, oh, he could laugh with the age now this time. That was good news. So this week Rena gives out the homework, right? So the homework is mark every single turning point in price through CBCs 10 days in a row, 0 to 0, 0 to 0, right? Meaning 0, 0 to 23:59 or 11:59 p.m. That's one full day. You mark out every single sequence. So you look at it and say, this is a fail 2 on CBC. This is a fail 2 on CBC. And you just keep on doing it. This is successful 2 on CBC into CBC 3 into CBC 4 and 5. That fails. CBC 2, that also fails, but then it runs higher anyways. We don't have a breathing room, so that might be the reason. Runs higher, down, up, sweeps it, run higher, 2, 3 on CBC to run lower. I will also add this. Now you got the homework. 10 days of price action, CBC, every turning point. Just run through it. I want to print that shit in your mind because you will find trades everywhere after that. I'm talking all over the goddamn place. There'll be a trade. And that's how I also beat my FOMO. I beat my FOMO by just creating so many opportunities. There's no way to miss out on a trading day. There's no way. So my FOMO was, I want to be part of this move. I want to be part of this move. But as soon as the move went, okay, literally 2 minutes later, there was a trade. 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 That's how I solved it. People say, don't overtrade. I don't overtrade. I just give me so many opportunities that my mind can't even comprehend how many opportunities there are. In that way, I can be part of everything. In that way, I don't have the fear of missing out. What I will add with the CBCs, look at this specific area. It's important that you listen in now. This candle is called an inside candle. Do you see how this high and that low has not swept anything? This is something very important. In comparison, this high, that low, this high, that low. This is just inside price, or what I call the inside candle. Don't count that as running two lows because they're coming from different time frames. This is just inside the range. It's almost like saying this. Oh, we just ran two lows. Did we really though? Did we run two breathing rooms? No, it wasn't even a breathing room in here. Right? Because this low, meaning that low, had to sweep this high, which is that high. It didn't do it. So this is not a breathing room. This is the only breathing room that exists, which is sitting down here. That's why price bounces up. And that low is right there. And now you have this entire thing playing out right in front of you right here. Everybody understood the assignment. Everybody understood this lecture. There was a lot of things to go through. I understand that, but it's now you definitely have something to look into as well with the recordings, right? Everybody following? Awesome. Yep. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Again, this is some very, very powerful things. So really take your time. Do a lot of this stuff. Because when I take my entries, I take it on the tick charts or I take it through a CBC. That's it. And guess what? Both of them is a sequence. What you have been doing from the beginning, my friend, is training your eye to see your very entry without knowing that that was your entry. The entire sequence is your entry, but just on a smaller time frame, a very minimized, compressed sequence. A sequence inside the sequence. A sequence inside the sequence inside the sequence. Into a fail 2 to take you higher, for example. So what you've been doing from the beginning is your entry, is your story, your bigger perspective, your lower time frames, all at the same gosh dang time without you necessarily recognizing it. It's simple, it's very in depth, but it's very, very simple. That's why you're seeing it so that it's really rewarding you when you're putting in the work. All right, so without further ado, I know you have some questions, but study this stuff a whole lot, and we'll chat very soon again. I hope you enjoyed today's lecture. Tomorrow there will be little chat with a premium, and Thursday we're gonna have some price live price reading. So without further ado, my guys, take it easy. Have a wonderful evening, morning, afternoon, whatever it is, and make sure to kick ball with NQ until I see you the next time. Talk to you in a bit.